Hello everyone. Welcome to the lecture on Unit 1 of Mechanics of Solids. We have already discussed in the previous class about simple stresses and strains. So today we will continue our discussion. So in the previous video we had discussed simple stresses and strains and their types. So if you see the definition of stress, it is the internal force of resistance per unit area offered by a body when the body is subjected to external force. So this is the definition of stress, and the unit of stress is Newton per millimeter square, SI unit is. There are other units, they are Newton per mm square, megapascal and bar. So these are other units of stress. We had defined strain also. It is the ratio of change in dimension to the original dimension. And strain is not having any units. And we had discussed about types of stresses also. And in the types of stresses, we have three types. One is direct stress, or you can say simple stress. Another one is indirect stress, and the third one is combined stress. So in the simple stress, there are again two types. One is shear stress and another one is normal stress. And again in the normal stress, there are two types. One is tensile stress and the compressive stress. So the definitions of all these stresses we had discussed in the previous class. So moving on, today we will discuss elasticity and plasticity. I think this has been already learned by you because it is there in inter class. So elasticity is the property of a material which enables it to get back to original size and shape after the removal of applied force. So we already have learned that whenever there is an external force applied on the body will undergo change in dimensions. So there will be change in the dimensions of that body, and also there will be change in the shape of the body also. Okay, but if this force is applied up to a certain limit of the force, if this force is up to a certain limit, and if we remove that force, external force, then what happens is the body will regain the original size and original shape. So this property by which the body will regain its original size and shape after the removal of the applied force is known as elasticity. Okay. So the value of the stress after which the material loses property of elasticity is known as elastic limit. So we already know that whenever there is an external force applied in the body, there will be stress induced in that body. Okay, but if you if you increase the force, then what happens? The elasticity will be there only up to a certain value of the force. If the force is increased beyond this limit, then what happens? The material will lose its property of elasticity. Okay, so at this point, whatever the value of the stress which is induced in this material is known as elastic limit. Okay. Now, what is plasticity? So plasticity is the property by virtue of which a material cannot regain its original size and shape. Okay. So here in elasticity, it will regain its original size and shape even after the removal of the applied force. But if in case of plasticity, it is a property, okay, by virtue of which the material cannot regain its original size and shape. Here it is not possible to regain its original size and shape. So this is known as plasticity. So you can see that elasticity and plasticity both are opposite. Okay. So moving on, next we have a concept called Hooke's law. So what is this Hooke's law? Hooke's law states that the stress is directly proportional to strain within elastic limit. Okay, so whenever there is an external force acting on the body, stress will be induced in the body, and also there will be strain induced in the body. So what is the relationship between this stress and strain? So this is given by Hooke's law. So Hooke's law, as per this Hooke's law, the stress induced in that body is directly proportional to strain within the elastic limit. So it is this Hooke's law is applicable only within elastic limit or up to elastic limit. Beyond elastic limit, the Hooke's law is not applicable. So that is, if you represent it mathematically, you can see here sigma, or you can say stress, is directly proportional to strain, that is epsilon. If you remove the proportionality sign, then you will get a constant. So therefore sigma is equal to capital E into epsilon. So this, where this capital E is a constant and it is known as Young's modulus or modulus of elasticity. Okay, so then how can you define this Young's modulus here? So Young's modulus is the ratio of stress to the strain. So here if you see in this equation, this is sigma is equal to E, capital E into epsilon. So from this equation you can write capital E is equal to sigma by epsilon. So sigma is what? Stress divided by strain. So therefore it is Young's modulus. You can define it as the ratio of stress to the strain, but there is a condition. So the condition is this ratio of the stress to the strain within elastic limit is known as Young's modulus. The condition is it should be within elastic limit. So if you calculate the ratio of the stress to the strain within the elastic limit, the value that you are getting is Young's modulus. Okay, so this is the definition of Young's modulus. Then what will be the unit of Young's modulus? The unit of Young's modulus is same as that of stress, or that is Newton per mm square or Pascal or bar. So the unit of this Young's modulus is same as that of stress. So this is Hooke's law. So moving on, let us discuss stress strain diagram for mild steel. Okay, so here there are two types of materials. One is ductile material and another one is brittle material. But mild steel is ductile material, so we are discussing the stress strain diagram for ductile materials. So almost all the ductile materials will have same kind of stress strain diagram. So therefore this is basically for mild steel, but it can be applied for all the ductile materials as well. Okay, so when a ductile material like mild steel is subjected to a tensile force, it undergoes different stages before the failure. Okay, if you keep on increasing the force, that is tensile force, what happens is it will undergo some different stages before getting failed. So this the stress strain diagram, this is graphical representation of all these different stages that the ductile material will undergo before the failure when the tensile force is applied. Okay, the stress strain diagram is different for ductile and brittle material, as I told you, but all the ductile materials will have similar kind of this stress strain diagram, and all the brittle materials will have similar kind of stress strain diagram. Okay, but it is different for ductile and it is different for brittle material. Okay, stress strain diagram for mild steel, which is ductile material, it consists of following stages. So if you see this diagram here, so this is a typical diagram for stress strain diagram for mild steel. So this has been obtained by conducting tensile test on universal testing machine. Okay, so this, if you see this graph, there are different stages that a material undergoes before getting failed. So first one is proportionality limit. So here in this diagram it is denoted by point A. Second one is elastic limit, it is denoted by point B. Third one is upper yield point, which is denoted by point C. Lower yield point, which is denoted by point D. Ultimate stress point, that is denoted by point E, and breaking point, or you can say fracture stress, that is denoted by point F. So let us see what are these things one by one. So once again, you should, before understanding all these six stages, you should know what is stress strain diagram. So it is a diagram which is obtained by conducting, it is a graphical representation. You can say it is a graphical representation of stress versus strain. So you can see here in this diagram, in this graph, we have stress and strain. Okay, so along x-axis we have strain values, and along y-axis we have stress values. Okay, so this is stress strain diagram. So this is a graphical representation of stress versus strain. Okay, and how we will get these values of stress and strain? Because if we have to plot a graph of x versus y, we should have the values along x-axis and we should have the values along y-axis. So how will you get the values of stress and strain? So these values we have to get them from tensile test, which is being which will be conducted on universal testing machine, that is UTM. Okay, so whenever the force is being applied, there will be stress induced in the body, and also there will be strain induced in the body. So this stress and strain you will be calculating, and you will be plotting the graph. You will be marking it on the graph, and you will be plotting this graph. So whenever the ductile material is subjected to tensile force, and the different values of the stress and strains have been plotted on this graph, you will get this kind of diagram. So this is the stress strain diagram. Okay, so this is the nature of stress strain diagram of mild steel. So this is very, very important from the exam point of view. You should remember this diagram, and you should remember this all these points, that is stages which the material will undergo before getting filled. So let us understand one by one. What is proportionality limit? What is elastic limit? What is upper yield point, lower yield point, ultimate stress point, and breaking point? So first one, proportionality limit. So this is the point up to which the stress is directly proportional to strain. Okay, and here up to this point, Hooke's law holds good. Okay, so because proportionality limit is the point up to which the stress is directly proportional to strain. So if you see this diagram here, from the beginning of applying the tensile force, you can see that the stress strain diagram or the stress strain curve is straight. It is linear. So what does it indicate? It indicates that the stress is directly proportional to strain. It is varying directly with respect to strain. So there is no way, what do you say, there is no variation in this curve. It is linear. So it is not curve one, it is linear. So therefore, you can see that the stress is directly proportional to strain up to this point A. Okay, so this point A is called as proportionality limit. So up to this point, elasticity will be there. So this point up to this point A, the stress is directly proportional to strain, and this point is known as proportionality limit. And also by Hooke's law, we have the statement of Hooke's law that the stress is directly proportional to strain. So therefore, this point up to this point, the this Hooke's law will hold good. So it is applicable only up to this point. So this is proportionality limit. Okay, moving on. Second one is elastic limit. So what does it indicate? Elastic limit. We have already learned this when we have discussed elasticity. So elastic limit is the point up to which the material behaves like elastic material. So we have already understood what is elastic material, or we can say what is elasticity. It is a property by virtue of which the material will regain its original size and shape whenever the force is removed, whenever the external force is removed. So this is elasticity. So the point up to which the material behaves like elastic material is known as elastic limit. So after this point B, so in this diagram, if you see point B, so this point is known as elastic limit. If you increase the force after this point B, the material will enter into plastic stage. Okay, so therefore, only up to point B, the material will be like material will behave like elastic body. So therefore, this point B is known as elastic limit. Okay. Next point is upper yield point, so which is denoted by point C. So this is point C. So this point is upper yield point. So this is the third point in this diagram, or you can say third stage in the stress strain diagram. So what does it mean? What does it indicate? Upper yield point. So this is the point at which the value of stress decreases, but the value of strain increases. Okay. If you see the diagram here from point C, if you see from point C, what happens? The value of strain is increasing. The value of strain is increasing. But what about the value of stress? It is decreasing. Okay, instead of going upward, it is going downward. So therefore, the point at which the value of stress is decreasing, but the value of strain is increasing, is known as upper yield point. Okay, so this is upper yield point, and it is denoted by point C. Second, next point is lower end point. So this is the point at which the stress increases again with the increase in the strain. Okay, so here if you see at this point T, so this is lower end point. So at this point, what is happening? Again, the stress is increasing. Again, the stress is increasing, and also strain is also increasing. So therefore, lower end point is the point at which the stress increases again with increase in strain. So this is denoted by point D. Okay. The next point is ultimate stress point, that is point E. So let us see what is that ultimate stress point. So it is the maximum value of stress a material can resist. So it is the value of stress at which the neck formation begins. Okay, so if you see here from this point E, so this is called as ultimate stress point. So at this point E, there is a maximum value of stress. Okay, so this is the maximum value of stress a material can withstand without getting failed. So this point is known as ultimate stress point. So at this point, what happens whenever you increase the force, there will be a formation of neck. So that means from this ultimate stress point, there will be beginning of neck formation. Okay. The next and the last point is breaking point, that is point F. Okay. What is the meaning of this breaking point? It is the value of stress at which the material gets failed or which material fractures is known as breaking point or fracture stress. If you see this diagram here, at this point F, which is known as breaking point, the graph is ND. So what does it indicate? At this point, the material is failed. Okay, so therefore, this fracture point or breaking point is the value of stress at which the material gets failed. So this is stress strain diagram. So moving on, we have one more concept, which is working stress and factor of safety. Okay, so if you see the definition here, what is working stress? Working stress is the maximum safe stress a material can carry. So whatever the stress we are calculating from the tensile stress, so it is not possible to design based upon that tensile stress which is being calculated by conducting the tensile test, because whenever the material is in operation, then we should always ensure that the stress induced in the body is much lesser than its actual strength. Okay, so how will you come to know the strength of a material? We will come to know the strength of the material by conducting the tensile stress. Okay, in an UTM. Okay, but that is actual strength. Okay, but whenever we are designing a material for a specific application, we should always ensure that the stress induced in the body is much lesser than the actual strength of the body. Okay, so this stress will be safer side. This stress will be safe stress. Okay, so this stress we are considering when the material is in working condition. So therefore, this stress is called as working stress. So therefore, working stress is the maximum safe stress material can carry. So when the material is in operation. So this is known as working stress. So as the name indicates, working stress is the stress which is induced in the body, or the maximum stress which is induced in the body when the material is in operation, or you can say when the material is in working condition. Okay, this working stress should always be less than its tensile strength, which is calculated by conducting the tensile test. Okay, so this working stress is also called as permissible stress, allowable stress, actual stress, and safe stress. Okay, so all these are nothing but working stress. Okay, whenever the problem is whenever we are solving the problem, they may in the problem statement they may give you only working stress, or they may tell you like permissible stress, they may give allowable stress or actual stress or safe stress. So all these are same. There should not be any confusion in this, because wordings are different but the meaning is same. Okay, whenever these wordings are given, you should always think that it is a working stress. Okay, one best example we can give for this working stress is like suppose if you want to go for a trip. Okay, and you will estimate the amount, or you can say you will estimate the money required for completing the trip. Okay, but if you estimate the trip, or if you estimate the money, and you will not be taking only the estimated money. For the safer side, you will be keeping some extra money with you, so that there should not be any what you say problems in completing the trip, or you can say in completing the tour. Okay, so that extra amount is for the safer side. Similarly, so in designing the material for the safer side, because we will calculate the tensile stress or the tensile strength of the material in the tensile test. Okay, but we should not consider only that stress. We should consider some lesser value of the stress for the safer side, so that the material will not be failed whenever it is in operation. So that stress is known as working stress. Okay, so this working stress is different for brittle materials and ductile materials. So working stress is calculated by this formula, that is ultimate strength divided by factor of safety for brittle materials, and for the ductile materials it is calculated by the formula, that is yield strength divided by factor of safety. Okay, so there is a difference between ultimate strength and yield strength. Okay, and also there is we have already learned this stress strain diagram. Okay, so this point is known as ultimate strength, and these 2 points are known as yield points. Okay, so in case of brittle material, we are considering this ultimate strength to calculate what is the working stress, and for the ductile materials, we are considering this yield point for calculation of working stress. So therefore, we should remember this. For brittle materials, working stress is calculated by considering the ultimate strength, and for ductile materials, this working stress is calculated by yield strength. Okay, so this working stress is the ratio of ultimate strength to the factor of safety in case of brittle materials, and it is the ratio of yield strength to the factor of safety in case of ductile materials. You should remember this, and you should clearly understand this difference for the brittle materials and the ductile materials while calculating the working stress, which is very, very important while solving the problems. Okay, so next we will discuss factor of safety. So it is a number which is used to determine the working stress. Okay, it is fixed based on the experimental works on the material. Okay, and it is defined as the ratio of ultimate stress to the working stress for brittle materials and yield stress to the working stress for ductile materials. So it is also different for brittle materials and ductile materials, as we have discussed in the previous concept, that is working stress. Okay, so this number is determined based upon the experimental works on the materials. Okay, so we will see how this factor of safety is determined, and what are the factors which affect the determination of the factor of safety in the next class. Okay, thank you.